Dillon, thank you for doing this interview. I can't tell you how grateful that you did this with me, but also just how proud I am of your journey. It's been, I'm going to get too emotional.
It's okay.
It was so awesome to see it, and I love you.
I love you too.
Welcome to a very special edition of Don't Quote Me. We are currently in Berlin. Dillon, where are we going right now?
To Potsdam.
Where the hell is Potsdam?
It is about 30 minutes to an hour southwest of Berlin, and it has a bunch of castles that we can go look at.
So, me and my family just went on a trip. We were just in Copenhagen for 48 hours, and then we came to Berlin to see Dillon's show last night. What is the venue that, can you give the full name of the venue that we just went to the show? Because I don't want to butcher the name.
The Friedrichstadt Palast. But
So-
most people just refer to it as the Palast.
The Palast. So, Dillon, for the last 2 years, has been under contract at this place and has very much been underselling how world-class, how next level this show is. We had the chance to see it last night for the first time. It was unbelievable. As your older brother, I've been like tripping balls all morning, all night, just thinking about how incredible a show it was. I feel like you are quite humble when it comes to your approach to your craft. Did you ever think you'd be performing at a sold-out show for 2 years in a row and repeat, where people just consistently show up and you get to jump on a trampoline and do performance art in front of them?
Not a long time ago, but since beginning performing and realizing the opportunities that are out there and like seeing where I stand in the field with everything, I would not humbly say like, yeah, you're kind of used to it. Like, yeah.
I think that's trippy. So, can you give like say if no one knows who you are, the first time that you're introducing yourself to someone, how do you introduce yourself in your craft?
Hi, I'm Dillon, and I'm a professional circus artist specializing in trampoline wall.
So, circus artist. What's the difference between like a performance artist and a circus artist?
Well, all circus artists are performance artists, but the brand of circus as it exists now is heavily based in physical feats, and for me it leans very heavily acrobatic, but just a physical theater performance and discipline category that kind of separates itself just from acting, but involving a high level of physicality.
Yeah, that definitely checks out. So, one thing that I really want to acknowledge is the fact that we are on a train, and this show is very heavily influenced by subway takes. And we're not doing any takes here today, though. We're actually just interviewing my little brother, Dillon Vance. So, how do you view your craft? I mean, like you talked about a little bit when it comes to circus, but would you call yourself an artist, a performer, an athlete? All three? How do you talk about it in those categories? Because a lot of people don't understand the differences between these different mediums.
For me, the chief definition would be as an artist, and I am also an athlete, but that's more so the foundation and like the tool or the medium that I use for my art. So like the visual artist paint with the brush or the pen or the whatever, and like this is mine. And so the higher my athleticism and the better my health, the higher quality art, the more capable I am of expressing what I want to, instead of being limited by like, this brush is like too thick and clumsy, I can't exactly get the detail that I want. And so the more I work on this, the more I develop as an athlete, the more options I give myself as an artist. And then to go into that, the performer is kind of just like how I get paid, but is also a little bit of like the kid in me who liked dancing on the table at the birthday party and getting the attention from the siblings and the parents and doing something to get that recognition.
Look at me dance. Yeah. That's awesome. Quick pause. Everything's recording, right? You're good?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, do you want me to actually?
No, just making sure everything's still going.
Yeah.
I stopped and restarted. Here we go.
Okay. I call you a professional athlete, but hardly anyone knows about performing art, at least we're in the culture that I'm from. Can you tell me about tramp wall and artistry, like I'm in third grade?
Yes. So everybody knows the backyard trampoline, the little black circle that you can go and jump on. We use an Olympic-style trampoline, which has a lot more power, and it's rectangular. And we put that up against a wall or a ledge or some other kind of structure that we can run up, we can jump off of, and then we can use all of those surfaces together to do flips and to have a performance.
That's a really good explanation of it. What we're definitely going to do is I'm going to just like populate a bunch of your like famous videos, especially like the ones where you're jumping from the wall like all the way over to like a second trampoline, or the ones where you jump over the wall and kind of go to the other side and then bounce back over. And you're like, you have a couple of special moves. I feel like that most people can't do on the planet. Like, and I feel like you one of them, the twisting like corkscrew, twist out seven. I don't even know what to call it, but I've seen you do it a whole bunch of times. Is that a move that you kind of came up with, and what's the move called first?
What I think you're talking about is just a double twisting swan dive. So it's half of a front flip with 2 full twists around with a 720. And I didn't create it. I'm not the only one who can do it. But in my circle of friends, it's not a common thing. And so when we were playing games like the box game, that's an easy way for me to get a point. When I'm putting a solo in a show, I'm often the only one in the show who that's an easy trick for. And the audience loves it, and I love it. And so I end up doing it a lot. But within Tramp Wall, there's normally a handful of other people who like can also do what you can do.
Okay. I personally just love watching you do that move because it feels like a signature move at this point when it comes to like how, because I had the privilege of riding back on an airplane from Copenhagen to Berlin with one of your coworkers, Nick, and he was ranting about how you're one of the top people in the world in their craft when it comes to this stuff, not only because of the stuff that you're able to do on a trampoline, but also because of your work ethic and how you have dedicated yourself to this craft. What I would love to like unpack for people is like, how do you even prepare for this kind of job? How do you even find yourself in this kind of space? Like, give me a little bit of the journey of like how you got here to even be one of the top in the world in this craft and how you're doing it now.
Okay. Everybody has like a different background and journey as to how they became a tramp wall artist. Some people were trampolinists, some were gymnasts, some had no acrobatic or like sport background and just kind of stumbled upon it at a trampoline park or saw videos and started trying it. For me, the journey actually started with you spotting me for my first back tuck when I was like 4 or 5 years old on the backyard trampoline.
I didn't know that.
all of the days and years of playing on the trampoline as a kid.
So fun.
And then moving to the city and having the public pool across the street, I spent my summers on the diving boards. And so then when I came to high school and I was doing sports, I competed in diving. Did that for 5 years. Dropped out of college, didn't know what I was doing, discovered parkour, got super into that for another 5 years, doing parkour, free running, freestyle trampoline, learning tumbling, kind of, learning like super basic gymnastics because I was like teaching recreational classes to kids. And then met a tramp wall artist, and he kind of helped show me the ropes of the very basics of things and left me with a list of skills that I would want to learn if I wanted to start performing. And that was like the winter of 2015, and I did my first contract the summer of 2016.
So you're like a decade on.
So I'm getting really close to a decade on, and basically that entire time, because I realized very early on that my background of diving and the parkour and free running kind of came together in this like perfect preparation for me to be ready for tramp wall mentally and physically. And there were a lot of things that I picked up very fast that like impressed the guy who had first taught me, and like these guys who'd been doing it for a couple of years and were professionals. And I was like, okay, well, if they're impressed in what I just picked up in like a couple months, I think I actually have the potential to be the best in the world at this thing, and for whatever reason, that's what I wanted to do, and I knew I couldn't do it for parkour. I knew it was too late for me to do it with diving. It was way too late for me to do it with gymnastics. But tramp wall was new. I had access to a good setup. I was kind of a natural, and I enjoyed it, and so I committed my life to making every decision based on, is this going to help me become a better tramp wall artist or no? And I had that single-minded focus for almost a decade now.
That's incredible. I think at the start, for all of your family, I'll say, when you decided that you were headed down this path, it was hard for us to understand and or have a picture of what you saw as a possibility for your life. And I even remember thinking when you were first starting off and you weren't making any money and you didn't have a contract and it wasn't necessarily something that it was like returning, but you had a pretty singular focus even back then around like pursuing this, and you believed in yourself. So, and you even said it in your answer of like, how does this contribute to me being like the best in the world at this? How did you stick by that vision even when your family and even when people that love you more than anything couldn't see that?
That's a good question. I didn't know what it was going to lead to, because in the beginning with all the parkour and free running, the only thing that I could point to of like a reasonable avenue of making money with it was being the first to win American Ninja Warrior or becoming like a Red Bull sponsored athlete. And even then I didn't really understand how any of that worked. But I was like, well, they're traveling the world, and that's $100,000. So, you know, I'd be fine for like 10 years if I could just get that. And it was more so like, regardless of the money, I had become so disenfranchised with the like traditional path and the school system. And even I only went to university, not because I didn't like learning, but to continue diving because I had such a passion for that. But I didn't know what I wanted to do, like for my life or for my work. And the student counselors and everything weren't really helping with that. And I was just surrounded by a bunch of people who didn't care anymore. They were only there for scholarship. They had like no passion left. And I was just like, man, this sucks. Like, in high school, the swimming and the diving team and our coaches, like we were like a family. Like it was like a group of brothers and sisters, because even like the men's and women's team were together, and my coach was a mentor and a friend of the family. And my diving coach in college would be like on his phone during practice, and I'd come up out of the water after a dive and be like, you know, why didn't that work? He's like, oh, sorry, I missed that. And so I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like, I'm pouring myself into this and I'm getting like nothing back from that. And I started going to these like parkour classes and open gyms at the gymnastics gym. And I was met with a community of people who were expressive and creative and passionate, and I had that communal feeling that I had been craving so deeply. And I just knew that this was important and this was meaningful and significant, and I needed that. And so regardless of what was going on in life, like money didn't motivate me, and it still kind of doesn't. And it just mattered. Like it was viscerally significant to me, and just that feeling and that growth and that sense of purpose, even though I couldn't see where it was going or what it would lead to, I just knew that I that's what I need to be doing.
Yeah, I think you said 3 key words that motivate you, at least in my experience of you, is expressive, creative, and passionate. And if you don't really have those 3 pieces, you're not really interested in whatever it is.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to a craft and the thing that you are currently doing for a living. Going all the way back, like right now, like obviously you had that vision, you were able to stick through it. You had a lot of people that kind of fought against it too. Like you had people that did, like were active, like this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
What would you say to them now?
Look at me now. Look at me now.
Some Chris Brown.
Getting paper. No, it was always just like, I'll show you. Like, you don't see it, but I do. Like, you don't know what I know. You don't feel what I feel. How are you going to make this work? I don't know, but I'm gonna. And I did. But there was also like a lot of fortuitous circumstances that came around that.
Right. You got your first contracted out at All Wheel because of the gym that you
I've had
went
things
to.
handed to me. My first Cirque contract was just because one of the first people who actually
Cirque du
taught
Soleil,
me,
by the way.
Cirque du Soleil. There were like two people who basically taught me trample in the beginning: Dominic Barge and Giacomo Trottier. And Giacomo was actually offered the Cirque du Soleil contract before me, and I didn't know this until years later, but he was like, I don't want to do whatever. He was like in a different situation, and he said no, or he like waited too long to commit, and so I was like the last option, and they reached out to me, and I was just like, yes, and I like jumped on it right away. But if he'd have just been like, yeah, sure, I'll take that, my whole like career path would have been completely different.
Completely different. That is crazy. I think that kind of goes all the way back to your start, though. Like, there was still a vision, and like life kind of provided for that vision ultimately. Like, the universe kind of played in your favor towards
Absolutely.
more of the things that you wanted to be involved in, which I think is, as someone that's been able to witness the journey close to 10 years now, and I'm going to try not to get super emotional, but then getting the opportunity to see your show last night, it was such a beautiful thing to witness, because even I questioned you back in the day, because like I was mostly like, I don't want you to like be a starving artist. I don't want you to have to couch surf. I don't want you to have to like struggle like
Because
this.
I was.
Because you were
Because
absolutely couch surfing.
I was never really homeless.
You were pretty
I like
close.
to call myself home full, because I had so many different places that I could stay at.
Yes. What advice do you have someone that is learning how to trick, bounce, tumble, or in general trying to express themselves through movement like you do?
Be patient. Don't take shortcuts. Take your time. Work on your foundation. Keep working on your foundation. Have fun. Be safe. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's way more fun to be training constantly than it is to push for a big trick, get hurt, and not be able to do anything for 6 months.
You've probably got a lot of stories and a lot of people that have gone through that exact and had to learn those lessons. When did you have to learn those lessons for yourself?
My biggest, like, super lucky, I called it a warning shot. I landed on my head/neck trying a standing double backflip from something way too low that I didn't properly progress into. I like skipped some steps and I was like, yeah, I got it. I didn't have it. And I actually have a video, so I can share it with you.
You should definitely send it my way.
We can pop it up, because I hit so hard that my spine compressed and then like rebounded and locked for a second, and I just kind of fell over. And like I couldn't move for a couple seconds, and then I just kind of like got like movement back and checked everything, and I was like, I'm okay. And everyone else was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I think so. And my neck was really sore for a while.
Yeah, understandably.
But I luckily did not break my neck, and it was at a gym where somebody else had broken their neck doing a double backflip, and that's why that gym had a policy against that. And then I got kicked out of that gym. And because I posted that video on Instagram, but the whole caption was like, hey, don't be stupid, don't do this. And the guy was like, you're promoting this dangerous activity. I was like, no, I'm saying like, don't be dumb. Like, I almost lost my life or was paralyzed. And
that is crazy.
So from then on, I was like, okay, we're gonna take our time with this.
Be patient, still play, but build on your foundation. Don't jump, don't skip the steps.
Don't skip steps. And if you don't know what the steps are, there's just little baby steps along the way, always.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Do you know how tramp wall started? Do you have any history lessons that you can give us in regards to how tramp wall even began?
Absolutely.
Let's hear it.
There's like two main paths that I know of. The one that most people know and would say is the start is that backstage of a Cirque du Soleil show called Mystère, which is still running in Las Vegas. I think like 25 years ago, they had a trampoline in the training room just up against the wall, and they'd warm up on the trampoline, and they started to kind of go to the wall with their feet and like kind of just doing little walks and like a little full turn and two people going together. And so that's some of the earliest like videos that we have to credit what birthed the idea for Cirque to then take it and develop it into an entire act. But I actually just learned this a couple summers ago. Dustin Webster, my friend Chase's dad, was a couple years before that doing some shows with a small company in San Diego where they're going and like setting up a little wall, or I think it was even attached to a truck, like they'd reinforced the sides of a truck, and they were doing these little shows with tramp wall, and Cirque hired them to come in and do a workshop at the headquarters and explore the concept, which they then used to take that and develop it into, as far as I know, the first big show with tramp wall was La Nuba, and that was
isn't that the one you toured with?
No, I did. It was stationary in Disney.
That's
Florida.
okay. Yeah.
But that was my first Cirque contract.
That's right. I remember. I recognized the name. I was like, wait.
Yeah, that was the first Cirque show where tramp wall was its own discipline and it was its own act. Otherwise, it was always just a little thing that was in the background, or it hadn't. It was
part of something else.
But back then, in 1996, when it premiered, they had to give a helping hand for people to come up to the top of that wall. People didn't even make it to the top of the wall on their own, let alone doing flips up or doing the swan dives at full height, or what it has developed into today.
Or what's the crazy trick that you do? The double
twisting swan dive.
Okay. We're going to go back to this because I feel like for a long time you had a signature move, and I know I'm calling you out because you're typically super humble about this, but isn't there a move that's like credited like, oh yeah, that's Dillon's move? That I know other people can do it now, but is it that move?
That's the move. Yeah,
okay.
That was
Yeah.
And then doing that.
Ashley was calling this out earlier. She's like, he's being humble about that. That was his move.
I might be doing it more often or more known for it, but there's other people who do it. Doing that with a triple twist, however, I think still to this day nobody else has done.
Which you have done.
Which I have done.
Right, exactly. Okay, yeah. See. Do you have anyone that you model your practice after? Is there anybody that you look to and go, you know what, if I can be on this person's level, I would feel like I've arrived? Because the weird part about your discipline and this as an artist, like there's not like a, hundreds of years you can draw from for reference material, let alone like practice or discipline or any of that when it comes to this kind of discipline.
In the beginning, there were just a couple different demo reels and like exemplars of different professionals who I followed and watched, and one in particular, Julien Roberge, was like the epitome of cleanliness and style and difficulty level that I wanted to emulate, and I watched his demo reel dozens of times. And then on another level, Julian Collari, who I later met and became friends and partners with and lived and trained and worked together, and we've now performed together. He was exploring a whole different avenue of integrating dance and contemporary movement into his tramp wall practice, while also being, as far as we know, the first person in the world to do the walking triple backflip. And he really helped me to like take my tramp wall practice to the next level. And then the system I use in training now is heavily influenced and modeled after a man named Derek Aldrich, which not a ton of people know of, but should if they do tramp wall. And he's the only real coach and mentor that I've had for a long time, because he was the artist coach at La Nuba when I joined, and then he was the artist coach at Volta. So I worked with him closely for 2 or 3 years, and really like drilled it into my head, the timeline that it takes. I'd be like, oh, I think I want to try this trick next week. And he's like, maybe next month, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I was like, I just need to do this a couple more times, then I'll have it. He's like, maybe do it 100 more times and you'll have it. And so it just really shaped my training philosophy, and using more mats and taking your time, and really breaking things down and having like exit plans or options everywhere. And so the way that I coach and the way that I train has been hugely informed by his practice.
Well, speaking of the practice, one of my questions is really around your habits and what you have built in your daily practice to get there. So like I know I talked about Nick when he was, talking, you're like one of the best in the world at this, but like what are those actual habits that help you practice these new moves or continue to get there? And how did those practices come about?
The biggest things that I do if I was having a perfect day would be starting my day with like a little morning stretch and walk, or walk and stretch in the sun, and just checking in with my body and being able to see and feel what's going on, what hurts, what feels uneven, what do I need to pay some special attention to that day to make sure that I'm functioning as best I can. And that like mindfulness and practice has been heavily informed by yoga, which I started doing many years ago, and I don't really do like a yoga practice now, but that mindfulness and connection to body and breath is hugely helpful. And then strength and conditioning training, which is pretty much for me just like weight training and a little like body weight calisthenics stuff. The practice of tramp wall and trampoline and acrobatics is very dynamic, and it's like mostly just our body weight, but we have to redirect and control exponential amounts of force through our body. And if all we do is trampoline or whatever, we're always on an unstable surface, we're always doing this like really fast movements. When you move like that, your body will default to whatever is the easiest and the strongest for it, and so it won't reinforce all of the other areas of the joint, of the muscle, of the tendon. And so doing slow, heavy strength training and isometrics and balancing those things out trains those weak parts and creates a durability in your body so that you can have longevity in the practice. And then the practice, and that's just putting the time in. I was exposed to the concept of 10,000 hours is what it takes to achieve mastery, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my 10,000 hours in tramp wall.
Where do you think you're at now?
I think the last time I did like a calculation for it, it was like 3,000 to 5,000.
That's it?
That's it. In 10 years.
In 10 years?
In 10 years. I could do the calculation again based on the past 2 years of being here at the Palast, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And you're going to get wrist problems and elbow aches from painting for 8 hours a day. It's really hard to do acrobatics for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, you can't.
You can do it for a couple of days,
right.
But that's just not sustainable. But,
right. Okay. If you could give your 24-year-old self some advice, what would it be now that you are a little bit older and have been in the game longer? Because when you were 24, this stuff was not in place.
Where was I when I was 24? 7 years ago? 2018? I was just joining Volta. Oh my God, save your money, you dickhead. Are you kidding me? I made, in one of those years, like $100,000.
Remember earlier when you said you could survive 10 years with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't have lasted 10 years, but it would have lasted through the pandemic, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm like saving money on less than half of that now. I could have...
So,
oh my God!
So saving money is actually part of this practice.
Have a budget. Save your money. I could have had so much fun still eating out, still bought a lot of random stuff, but man, where did that money go?
Okay. Any other advice that you would give them outside of save money? Or was he actually, you're like, actually that 24-year-old knew things that...
For acrobatics and training, whatever, no. I think that the path that I was on and the people I was surrounded with was helping me grow in a certain way. There's a certain level of like conscientiousness and awareness of the public space and my volume and how I'm coming across to others and my lifestyle habits and lack of being on time. Maybe save your money, show up early, because early is on time. And maybe shut the fuck up sometimes.
I think
Listen.
I think honestly that's all really good advice for any 24-year-old on the planet.
Yeah.
How have you balanced self-promotion and social media with your craft? Because some people might not realize this, but like you've got hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok. You've been viewed millions of times. You've had a couple of videos that keep getting repurposed. In like little memes, like you've had a lot,
the yoga video.
especially that yoga video, which is hilarious. But like I know that for you, and we've had lots of conversations about this because of the work that I do, that this has always been a push-pull for you. But how are you finding balance now with the ideas of self-promotion and building your craft at the same time?
What really like got me on the path of posting on Instagram or social media and doing YouTube videos and stuff. The first guy who taught me trample, Dominic Barge, had like 2,000 followers on Instagram, which at the time I thought was so many. You know, I think
It is a
I had,
lot.
like,
Anybody that doesn't
that's
say
a lot of
2,000
people.
is not
That's
a lot. It's a
of
lot.
people. There's at the time there was definitely not even half that amount of people in the world doing tramp wall.
Right.
So like everyone who did tramp wall followed him. He was known. He got job offers because of his presence on social media. People knew him, they were aware of him because he posted, because he did these things. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start doing that. I had a Windows phone at the time, which you could only post photos on Instagram. And so my first contract, my first paycheck, I bought an iPhone. And then I was like, I'm gonna post on Instagram every day because the whole like daily vlog thing was such a huge thing at the time. And I was like, I'm gonna do that. I never did the daily vlog. Maybe posted 5 in the past 8-9 years. But I filmed them. But on Instagram, I was consistent. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna update, just show the tricks that I'm working on, because it was also not just for promoting myself to others, but having a log of my training and my development. So you can go back to pretty much the very beginning and I can see exactly what I was working on, what were the new things I was doing, what did my form look like, what was I exploring at the time. And
you can see the entire process that has been documented.
Exactly. And I wanted that for myself and I wanted that for others. And I always had the intention of, and at the time I was like, well, I'm a master of this because now I'm going and getting paid, so I really know what I'm doing. So I'm going to come back and teach trampoline workshops or whatever. On that contract, I was the most inexperienced person in the cast. And I was like, oh, I didn't finish the game. I just now started playing. And so, but it was still like, this is going to be the body of work and the community that I can hopefully later teach or benefit with the knowledge that I've been given. And for me, the practice comes first. If it's gonna mess with the flow of a training, to like have someone stop and put up a phone, like fuck, I just need to do it. Like forget that. But if there is someone there just filming everything, or you're with the right people who know, they'll just subtly pull it out and do it. Because if you interrupt your flow of the practice to make sure that you get the right angle, you do whatever. Now you're focused on other things, and you're not gonna be as 100% dialed in the practice and in the art that you're doing. And sometimes I have periods where that's just too much extra and I don't film and I don't post, and that is what it is. But the practice comes first, my health comes first. But I still feel like it's important to contribute in that way, not just for my journal of it and my ability to reflect, but to also contribute to the community of tramp wall and acrobatics and it sounds really cliche or whatever, but be able to inspire others, because that's what inspires me now, is my friends and peers posting and sharing their things. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I want to try that. And so it goes both ways.
Couldn't agree more. Okay. Cheesy moment for you. Watching you perform in person last night, was kind of like watching the sunrise. It was very, very magical for me to just see your performance and how you moved and how professional you were, how clearly, even if you didn't know what was going on, you're clearly the leader too, and your practice. You could witness it all from my seat, which was incredible. It is magic. Are you trying to be magic when you're doing this? What are you trying to be when you're in that moment on stage?
Just present and connected. It is fun what we do, and there are like a lot of focused thoughts on like making sure I'm in the right place at the right time and do the thing, but the moments that I'm standing still, I'm watching and connecting with the other members of the team, and then in the other moments that I have, trying to reach out and connect with the audience, because if we get too focused internally, then it's like the audience is like looking at a clip that's all just having fun with each other, and they don't really feel a part of it. But when we're able to open that awareness and connect to the audience, it invites them in, and then we're all having fun together. And that's why it's really important that what we're doing on stage, we've rehearsed and practiced dozens, hundreds of times, that we're not performing at 100% of our capabilities, because if we are, then we don't have any brain space for them. So it's like 80% of our capacity, so then we can have that 20% awareness to look out and like connect with someone while we're jumping through the air, instead of like, I have to be 100% here.
Right. It's almost like the craft you were talking about earlier when it comes to like the push-pull of promoting yourself with others. Like, you have to always kind of be aware of this other aspect, and it's about more like integrating instead of just, no, I'm only doing my thing and it doesn't really matter, because clearly it does. You're at a giant show that's sold out in Berlin, Germany, and there's, I don't know how many people were at that show. Do you know how many people?
2,000.
Yeah, 2,000 people. And like I was cheering like out of my seat by the end of the entire experience, because it, like I said, it was just pure magic. Cool. Okay. This is going to be a random one for you. How does being one of 12 siblings prepare you for this kind of life that you're living? Or what did you have to face because you are part of a family this big that maybe hindered you for this life?
It has prepared me in a great way of being so used to the different dynamics and relationships between large groups of people, and the mess and chaos that can be. I'm very comfortable in that environment. And I was having a conversation with Julian about a year ago, and he's just like, you can't take on the emotions of like all of these people, of the whole team, like that's too much. That's what I was like, that's only 6 people. And like only one of them is older than me. I'm used to doing that with 14 people. I was raised doing that. This is easy for me. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm just fucking, this is the kiddie pool.
I was like, this is the kiddie pool of codependence. This is nothing.
Yeah, this is easy. Like, yeah, of course, boundaries are important, and there is a thing to that. But
yeah, this isn't us, right?
No, this is not.
Okay.
Where are we getting off so we can watch for it?
Friedrichstrasse.
Okay.
So there's that element where those dynamics, and then also like we had a big team dinner, and I'm like, that's not going to be enough. We need to bring this, and they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. This is the amount of food that we need to have for this group of people.
Right.
I know exactly how much that is.
Yeah.
So there's these like dynamics that work really well. What I have had to overcome because of it, and I don't know if it's because there's so many of us or just because of how we were raised or the lack of awareness or guidance that there was in our family, of just like manners, politeness, not interrupting people when they're speaking.
Oh, we don't know that. Yeah.
Just not being insanely loud when you're sitting this close to someone, just because.
I feel like these are all very normal and appropriate things
just
when it comes to having
an awareness of hospitality, not as the host, but as the guest, and like all of these like unspoken societal rules and norms that apparently everybody else is aware of, that I had to be literally like verbally taught and instructed in
Yeah.
as like a 30-year-old man.
Yeah.
And they're like, you should know this. And I'm like, well, I don't. So please teach me. They're like, that's not my job. I'm not your parent. I'm like, oh, my parents did it. I was like,
yeah. Well, I think
it didn't
that-
happen.
I think that's very appropriate because, like,
You know?
well, I mean, we were part of our own little world for
Yeah.
so long, and like we had our own culture because there were so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think every single one of our siblings would probably have a story like this when it comes to a professional setting, a relationship, but school or whatever. When
Yeah.
you're all of a sudden in a situation where, like, oh, everyone seems to be knowing what they're doing right now. And I don't know what to do with my hands. Like Will Ferrell in that movie, where he's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
And then for me, I think it was just like a boisterousness and just like a complete lack of awareness of whatever, and just like thinking that I'm getting along great with everyone, and just everyone else is too polite to be like, hey, bro, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, actually, can you be quiet right now?
We don't like you.
Okay. You're about to wrap up your contract here in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any hopes or dreams for what's next in your career that you care to share with the world?
Yeah, I want to explore a different aspect of performance art within and outside of Tramp Wall. I feel very drawn to a lot of different like contemporary style movement and theater companies, that some of them using trampoline and just having a flow to it, but it's more based on the synchronicity and symmetry of the collection of people and how they're interacting with each other, and less focused on the tricks. It's more about the emotion that you're portraying on stage and what your movement, the story that it's telling, instead of ooh, cool big wall. So there's that, and then also just if I am in a show where I'm doing big tricks or doing that, just being able to be a part of the creation of the choreography of that. I really enjoyed the bit of creation that we are able to do here, and connected with our choreographer Edesia very well, and being able to work with her again, work with other choreographers like that, potentially have the opportunity to do choreography myself. I don't think I'm ready to be like the one doing it, but if I can be like the assistant to someone or be a part of a team who's in charge of that, that would be awesome. I want to keep working in Europe or around the world. I haven't worked for every company in the United States, but I've worked for a lot of them that do Tramp Wall, and I feel like I kind of know what that scene is, but
Yeah.
it's a wide open world out here.
Yeah, and there's still a lot more world to explore because, I mean, Europe's been the last 2 years. You've had some time in Canada, all over the U.S. Maybe you got
A
to go.
little in the Middle East.
Oh, that's right.
Never to Asia.
Asia would be cool.
Yeah.
Asia would be very cool.
Never to Africa.
That'd be very sweet. Are there any books that you would recommend for anyone that is trying to get into this space, or books that you use on a regular basis just to help you be who you are? Oh, is this it?
No, we have one more.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few that have been pretty helpful in me like developing my own practice and mindset of mastery. And not that I've achieved that, but the path and the pursuit of it. Mastery by Robert Greene. I think it's Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell is the book that introduces the concept of the 10,000 hours.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure it was The Power of Habit, because knowing how the brain works and how you actually lay down habits, like a backflip is a result of habits. And so if you know how to directly change your physical habits, you know how to coach yourself, you know how to create the product that you want and learn any flip and do those things.
Awesome. Is there anything that you want to share with kind of like just the general world about this space that like considers like a soapbox moment where you can tell the world what it's like to actually perform in this space? Because I think that the performing arts in general, and probably it's because I'm an American, are really not considered like high art sometimes. Sometimes it really gets second fiddle to like painting or like it's not on the same prestige level as like a ballet dancer or something like that, when the reality is like a lot of this work is very, very similar to some of those expressions.
Yeah.
So like you can look right at that camera or that camera and just tell that like what do people need to know about this space from an art form perspective?
Well, for me, just the biggest thing is that Tramp Wall is a performance art, not a sport, but that isn't necessarily the way that it's heading. But yeah, just like live performance art is important, and like movies are cool and videos of other things is awesome. I love social media and the ability to see what my friends in Japan are doing and working on, but nothing can replace the like in-person connection of a circus show or a theater show or even live improv comedy. I think it is so important on so many levels.
You're okay.
Go ahead. And it's hard to explain that, but when you can really experience that, and when one show can impact you in a way that it changes your life and how you view the world, then you'll understand.
Yeah, I can attest to that as to someone that just witnessed a show that was on that level last night that my brother performed at. Dillon, thank you for doing this interview. I can't tell you how grateful that you did this with me, but also just how proud I am of your journey. It's been, I'm going to get too emotional.
It's okay.
It was so awesome to see it, and I love you.
I love you too.
Okay. All right. That's the end of that one.
And now I'm gonna get